we're about to give a status on where I am with this. Got the car back a couple of weeks ago and started to put in the underfloor items so that I can get the car onto stands and off of the rotisserie. So a couple of things that is best to do early on. This is the rear suspension mount. Goes on one side of the car at the rear, the other side is left free. That side mount is put on the rear suspension. That allows the rear suspension to be lifted in and then positioned. I put the bump stops in for the suspension arms. It's on both sides. Then this is a vacuum line related to the fuel tank. Has a grommet in there, which you won't be able to see at this point. That's a little tricky to fit in. These all have been positioned and bolted in. This oh, can I do that at the same time? This is a brake line, which is used for the rear suspension, obviously. Then you can see that I put in the exhaust mounts. Fuel line, that's also a little tricky. I'll switch around on the other side there in a second to show you that aspect. And then I've also put in the handbrake cable. We're going to talk about the handbrake lever assembly in a second, because that I think is worthy of some detail on how to reassemble that and put that in the car. It's fairly straightforward, but I just found it quite tricky. I had to do some research on YouTube for a couple of videos. I put in the rear mount for the exhaust system. None of that is really hard. It's just good to get it done while we can elevate the car and turn it relatively easily. We'll go around to the other side, look at the fuel line now. So you can see the fuel line runs the full length of the car, going all the way to the front. Then that's the feed to the filter that fits to the front bulkhead. This is the connection into the rear wall at the trunk, at the front of the trunk. This is brand new. I'll show the other side of that, and then it follows this route round. You have to get this in first before you fit the rear suspension. And when there's only one of you, this little bracket here that the fuel coupling lines up to can be quite tricky to fit. I'll show you the side of that. So this is the other side of that. That bolts through and then tightens up on the other side. Again, when there's one of you, that's a little tricky to do. But I found a way. I buy everything new for fuel. I've also fitted the rear under shield. This is a thermal shield for the gearbox and the exhaust system. It's important to get this lined up. There's a bracket that goes in here that provides the rear mount for the gearbox, and I positioned that, bolted that in, and then I placed this shield against that. When I looked at the photographs of the one I stripped off, it was incorrectly positioned. There's a hole here which lines up with the hole in the bodywork, which in my photographs didn't actually do that. It was actually set a bit further back. Anyway, as part of getting the floor ready, I've installed that. It's quite straightforward, but there is some drilling and riveting, so it's worthwhile spending time to get that in the right place. All right, so handbrake. This was quite an interesting couple of hours figuring this out. I took it apart to repair it and clean it up. This is the one piece that I have not had re-chromed, but it's actually polished up quite nicely. And I reassembled it. There's a great video online from Richard Owen. I'll post a link for that. And you can never take enough photographs. And the one time I didn't take enough photographs was the handbrake, right? So that was a bit frustrating. I've run the handbrake cable in. That goes through that center tunnel, and you have to be careful to make sure it goes in the guide, because it runs alongside the prop shaft. So at the rear end, there was a guide there for that. You can see there's a rubber grommet in here. And that grommet's not so straightforward to fit. That took a little bit of persuasion. It's better to do it with a handbrake cable, the handbrake assembly off. I've had the handbrake on a couple of times, which is why I'm making that comment. All right. So this switch assembly is actually quite important. So that switch assembly goes on to there, but the handbrake cable itself also slides in that slot. So you have to do that assembly after you've installed the wire, that steel braided wire, onto the handbrake assembly itself. This is the earthing strap, and that goes into this top bolt here, and that was worth finding out. This is all brand new, and this has to assemble in a specific way around, which I just hadn't taken enough photographs of that. I'm going to assemble this and show you how it looks as an assembly, and then I'm just going to install that. This is what that looks like with the assembly complete. The hand cable's all connected, handbrake cable's all connected. Just to show the orientation, because this is what I was missing in terms of recorded data previously, is that how that assembly at the bottom goes together. The Richard Owen video shows the switch but doesn't show how it's installed, but I was able to figure it out from a distant shot anyway, so I think this is relevant here. This is I think from my point of view certainly a useful reference. I'm now going to assemble this onto the actual body. This is what the final installation looks like. So you can see the position of the switch at the bottom. That cable's not, the handbrake cable itself has not got any tension on it right now. See the earthing wire goes up along the side and is actually connected in to that top bolt there. The live side of the switch will come connected here, and that will be routed in on the harness for the floor that will be installed later. So this was a little trickier than I expected it to be, if I'm honest. And again, I just didn't take enough photographs of this area, but looks very sweet, especially against the blue.